I'm going to help you find out what it's like for NFL teams, because one of the things that is in the front of their mind, the medical with players. I'm going to bring in Mike Ryan, who's our NBC Sports Sunday Night Football medical analyst. And in addition to that, Mike spent a quarter of a century as a head athletic trainer, and physical therapist in the National Football League, 20 years with Jacksonville having that head job. So he knows what's going on right now for teams and their medical staff. Mike, this is the most challenging draft that those peers of yours have ever had. How difficult is it on the medical staff this year for the draft?
Difficult, and talking to a lot of athletic trainers around the league, is they just don't have the medical information they normally do. We have the second combine where they look at it's just the medical, and there's typically about 60 players return to that. But because of this COVID change, we don't have that second combine. So they've had to kind of create almost a virtual recheck, if you will, and collecting medical information from doctors and athletic trainers around the country where these players are. But their inability to do the exams themselves and get their doctors and the athletic trainers to look at those players is really making it very challenging this year.
And with that diluted information, if you're in that seat, what kind of answers can you give the team presidents, the GMs, the head coaches who want to know, what do you think of this guy medically?
It is challenging because, yeah, you can get the objective test from an MRI the guy may have had across the country, or see a video. The guys are doing a great job of putting their workouts on video. But, Mike, that's a very different objective grade there compared to when you look at the player, you're doing the exam, because every injury has its own personality. So to take that evaluation from someone else is very different. So I almost say that some of these grades this year are kind of watered down because, yeah, you can say the bone's broken or it's not broken, but when you don't have a pro day, that really changes a lot, because a lot of the information you get isn't just the workout. But I used to love to talk to our scouts and say, hey, when that player did that workout, did he have tape on that right ankle? Or did he need 30 minutes of stretching and flexibility before the agility drills? Or was he limping when he left the workout? So there's a lot of things you don't necessarily see on the film or you don't see on the video that goes into determining those grades. So when you have those conversations with the general managers and the head coaches this year, you have to put a little nuance there and a little asterisk, because the grades, in a sense, are watered down.
Mike, you're always so helpful with us of understanding this injury is similar to what this player had a few years ago. This is the time frame that you normally see for an injury like this. Specifically to the Tua Tagovailoa injury, how rare is that injury? And the second part of that question, how then difficult does it become to get a real sense of where he is in rehab?
That's the big question everybody's asking, Mike. And with Tua Tagovailoa's injury, you don't see that a lot. And everybody wants to make the comparison of Bo Jackson, had a very similar injury. His hip went south very quickly. But what we're seeing here in the video, his workouts are looking very good. But when you look at a medical grade, Mike, there's really two factors that go into that medical grade. One is the risk of the injury itself. And the second half of that grade is typically what's the risk of players missing games down the road. And I think with Tua, it's a perfect example, especially the second factor of that is, yeah, he's moving well. He's changing direction well. They had a great physical with him at the first combine. But down the road with that hip, because the hip is very temperamental, is that hip going to become an issue, and his risk of missing time down the road and missing future games? That's the question that everyone's having, and I think that's the one that remains to be unanswered at this point. And I think some of the reasons why you're going to see some of them, the teams look at him, and he may drop down some of those medical boards.
Got about 30 seconds for your answer here, Mike. How much pressure do head athletic trainers and team doctors feel when you are on the clock, you're talking about the assessment of a player, and a coach or a GM asks you that question about, can we draft this guy medically?
A lot of pressure. But if you do your homework, you have the grades, you have the information you look at. Again, this year's a little different. But basically, that's their job. They're kind of taking all this information, compiling it into one simple medical grade. So it's a difficult task, but it's something that NFL athletic trainers are very capable of doing.
He's a triathlete. He's also a guy who is an incredible resource on medicine and football and athletic training. Mike Ryan. Mike, thanks for a few minutes and some perspective of what a lot of teams are going through today. We appreciate it. Hope your family stays safe down there in Florida.
Thank you, Mike. Same to you.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.